This is the PartyPoker.net World Cup of Pool. 32 teams chasing one of the biggest prizes in the sport. It's a tough competition to win. Only a handful of names have been engraved on this trophy, and all have come from the elite nations in the rankings. Both China and the Philippines have achieved it twice. The USA and Germany won apiece. But this tournament has consistently produced shocks and surprises, and this year is no exception. While many of the leading nations are through to the second round, the number 2 seeds and the host nation's A team are out. The Philippines A team of Olcolo and Corteza fell at the first hurdle to an unranked Swiss duo. The 32 teams who started are slowly being whittled down to the last 16. Germany, the defending champions, are through as expected. They will now face Finland. The Philippines B team, who now carry the sole responsibility for national pride, face Canada. The USA, previous winners of this event, face Austria, while China plays Spain. The bottom half sees England play Thailand. Japan came through against Russia and are awarded with a clash against Chinese Taipei. Holland went the full 15 racks with Croatia before taking the last to win 8-7. But in this section of the draw, teams will be taking a great deal of comfort from the fact that the fall of the number 2 seeds Philippines A has eliminated one of the leading contenders. Coming up, Poland and Australia. For the Polish team of Karol Skwarski and Wojciech Szczewczek, this year represents a new start and a chance to build on the 2011 performance that saw Poland reach the quarter-finals.
We were thinking that Radosław Babica and Mateusz Nigocki will be here, so it's very much surprise for us to be here.
Australia are still looking for their first win in the World Cup. Both Ian Barber and Dave Reljic are looking to avoid the fate of the 2011 Australian team who went out 8-0 in round 1. These two have a history which they are hoping may well give them an edge.
I've known Dave since I was 15, 16 years old, so I've known him quite a while. We live near each other. Known forever. It's just left-handed, right-handed combinations, a bit tricky sometimes.
It's a race to 8, Scotch doubles with the winners breaking. Commentary for this match comes from Alex Laley and Phil Yates.
Yes, it's a big match this for both of the Australians. Can they finally chalk up a victory in the World Cup of Pool? It's not been for the want of trying, but so far it's been exclusively first round defeats for them.
They're up against the most underestimated side. Wojciech Szczewczek and Karol Skwarski. Poland is not yet the force that it is potentially in Europe. They have a lot of depth, many players getting to numerous semi-finals on the Euro Tour. Thus far only one winner of a Euro Tour, but Wojciech Szczewczek, only 18 years of age. He got to the final 3 months ago, Euro Tour Austria. So that was a good breakthrough. I think he'll be playing with a lot of confidence.
And this is Karol Skwarski from the south-central Polish town of Kielce, which a little later on this year will host the World Pool Masters. 16-man invitation event featuring all of the game's leading players, and we believe that Skwarski, because of his local heritage, might get an invitation.
Now, Reljic has been around for a long time. He's played numerous matchroom events. He knows the setting. Doesn't mean to say he's very comfortable, because it never is comfortable actually. Ian Barber, he's the new one.
Well, it has to be said that Australia have got a fantastic Q Sports pedigree. In 2010, Neil Robertson won the World Snooker Championship. Phenomenal performance from him. And you could make an argument out to say that Australia provided the world with the greatest ever Cuban English billiards, Walter Lindrum. He was absolutely extraordinary, dominant, ridiculously skilled, and just raised the barrier in that game to a height, well, no one's ever come close to since. Walter Lindrum was to billiards what Don Bradman was to cricket, and they both came from down under.
Was a poor shot earlier by Reljic. There were no blocking balls. He could free stroke the 3-ball and draw all the way back. His follow through just blocked. Wojciech Ševčík won numerous medals, including gold in the Junior European Championships. Looks like taking on the 4-9. Banked the 9-ball.
Well,
lucky shot.
It was an unintentional 4-9 combination in the end. What an unusual way and what a lucky way for Poland to draw first blood and take a 1-0 lead over the unfortunate Australians. What rubbed salt into the wound was the fact that the cue ball nearly went in as well, which would have annulled all of the luck that the Poles received there. When that kind of thing happens in the first rack, Alex, there's a temptation for the opposing side to think, well, it might not be my day. Or in this tournament, our day.
9-ball is so unpredictable, and the momentum swings, well, they can come so swiftly. You have to be ready for this as a player. You have to buckle down and take it as it comes. Open view at the 1-ball, but it's a pot to a blind pocket. The only way they could take the pot on and position for the on the 2 would be to leave a long cut shot on the 2-ball. Stroke this in, get to the left hand long rail and solve the problem in 2 shots. Favor return there by Reljic.
Well, what an extraordinary start to the match. 2 fluke combinations to knock in the 9-ball, 1 for each side, on as even. Poland 1, Australia 1. Join us for more pool from Manila, Philippines after the break. 2 flukes have decided the opening 2 racks in this first round match in the partypoker.net World Cup of Pool between Poland and Australia. Rack number 3. Well, Aussie made an illegal break. But the Poles missed the 7. And Australia stepped in to take the rack and indeed the lead at 2-1. Then though they missed the 3 in rack 4, the combination didn't go down for Poland. And again, Reljic and Barber looking good, moving 3-1 ahead. Some tidy potting took the Australians 4-1 in front. Now Poland badly in need of a comeback, had a good chance in rack 6, but missing the 4-ball, not recommended. And you know, these Aussies are going great guns. Now 5-1 ahead, having won 5 consecutive racks, and it all began with that fluked combination that just chipped in the 9-ball in rack number 2.
Some unforced errors in previous racks by the Poles. But all credit to the Aussies, they're really punishing. And look at this setup on a 2-ball. The 3-ball though needs some development. Tied up with the 8. But having won all those racks on the spin, their back arm will be loose. Could even consider to play Karam on a 3-9. Look at this. Whoa, what a perfect kiss.
It took me a while, Alex, but I've just noticed those sunglasses on Reljic's head. Does he actually put them on at all to play?
That's his gimmick.
So cool he has to wear shades. Well, both Reljic and his partner Barber are putting Poland in the shade at the moment.
This would be, for me, a bigger surprise if Australia wins than the win of Switzerland against Philippines A. They're cruising towards another rack win.
And if 5 and 6 go down, an almost guaranteed combination, it seems, on 8 and 9. And again, we must reiterate a point we made earlier on. In the history of this tournament, Australia have never won a single match. Their entire lot, first round defeats. And as if to prove my point, the 6-ball goes astray.
Barber left Reljic too long and too thin on that ball. This looks like a hard shot, but that 6-ball is sitting ready to be kicked in, coming off of the rail, which will make it easy to go around, swing the cue ball around. 4 rails, 3 or 4 to come on the 8-ball.
He's only 18, Reljic.
I've seen him play in junior championships. He's not a slow player, just deliberate. And the beauty for him is that the deliberations don't hurt his technique. They don't hurt his feeling, his rhythm. He's a very clever boy.
Skaversky, the senior of the pair. He's married with a child and wants to take home from Manila maximum earnings. Well, that rack helps. They badly needed it, but it was more down to an Australian mistake than to their own excellence. Australia still in the driver's seat, now though their lead trimmed to 5-2. You have to ponder this. Have we just seen a turning point in the match? The 6-ball missed by the Australians could potentially be very expensive.
And this definitely helps. 1 ball sitting ready. No positional effort required, the 2-ball being so close. And the 3 ball is down table and can go to either side. Shevchik now can stun the ball, come to the right side of the 3. There's most room there. A more natural shot would be to follow with a touch of right spin, but then he has to maneuver around the 7 ball. The easiest to control, the most natural ways to play the cue ball are just follow or stun. And he did the latter.
You were mentioning, Alex, that only one Polish player has won on the Euro Tour. In Liberec, in the Czech Republic, Wojtek Trados. Another Polish player, Radoslav Babica, has had plenty of success around Europe. And also Maciej Snigocki has been a multiple semi-finalist, occasionally a finalist in Euro Tour competition as well.
Extension.
The Poles as a nation, in terms of pool, are definitely on the up.
Especially if you consider how successful they are in the junior championships. I think in the past 10 years, past 8 years, they probably have won the most gold medals. And if not, they would be in the top 3 with Germany and Russia.
And Alex, didn't they just have a big junior championship in Skaversky's hometown of Kielce?
Yeah, and funny enough, 2 Poles reached the final. Marek Kudlik winning the whole thing. He's the now reigning junior world 9-ball champion. Brother of Piotr Kudlik, who's 21 years old. Then there are the Piekarski brothers, 2 young guns. It will take time. Nobody knows how much, but that 1 or 2 or more Poles will enter the winner's circle. I was in Gliwice and Łódź earlier this year doing a training camp, and I stipulated the necessity of practicing and playing more games, because they don't play one pocket rotation in Poland. This, I think, would be the last ingredient for them to start winning tournaments.
Well, you have to believe the comeback is now on in earnest. Can't get a much better rack than that. It was neat and tidy, and Poland, having been 5-1 down, now trail only 5-3. Skaversky breaking off, hoping to make it 3 on the trot for Team Poland.
Having won the last 2 racks and having looked good in the previous one, the Poles, there is now some pressure on the Australians, more so with the 3 ball being in the position that it's in. This will require quality pool. Need to land perfect on the 2. Started with that first miss. When I was watching the Poles come back in the previous rack, having been on the receiving end for maybe some 20 minutes, they just played fluently. audaciously, and I realized this is what I miss in pool, coming back. That's the most beautiful feeling, coming back at players.
Well, we've had a couple of notable recoveries so far in the tournament. Finland, the number 16 seeds, they came back from 4-0 down to beat Korea. Holland, the number 7 seeds, they came back from the brink. Masters of brinkmanship they proved to be. Nick van den Berg and Huji C turning a 7-4 deficit into an 8-7 victory over Croatia.
They managed to realize position on the 3 ball. But what to do with the 4? If the 7 is slightly off the rail, they could play for a 4-7 combination. If it's frozen, then they'll have too little margin there. Now Wojciech is a tall lad, so he can bridge over that 4 and generate enough follow through to try and come and at the other side of the 4. Beautiful shot. Very easy to miss-hit that. And that's quality right there. Had his eyes pinned at the aiming point and stayed down when pushing the cue through.
And now the Poles have built up a head of steam, showing the kind of at-the-table rhythm that was absent in the early stages. So many shots are played during a race to 8, best of 15 rack contest, and yet inevitably we only tend to remember 1 or 2 of them. Either the truly blockbusting, outstanding shot or the terrible blunder. And so far in this match, the shot that sticks in my mind is Reljic's miss on the 6 when Australia were steaming towards a 6-1 lead. Ever since then, the match has been twisted on its head. And make no bones about this, Poland are right back in the reckoning. Poland are re-energised in this first round match in the partypoker.net World Cup of Pool. It's a magnificent venue, this, the Robinson's Place Mall, in the heart of Manila, Philippines. One of the countries in the world that loves pool the most. And right now, Poland are loving this because they were 5-1 down against Australia. Now it's only 5-4. Can they level?
Cue ball got struck by the 4 ball. Otherwise they would have had a shot on the 2. Now it's push out time. They'll look at putting the cue ball close to the rail. The window in between the 3-8 towards the 2 ball. Like that, a shot is on the 2 ball, but with a wild cue ball. Then one ought to try and find an alternative. Is there a viable safety option? If they try to cut the 2 and at least make sure to hit it thin, the cue ball will pass the 9 on the right side. Then they have a big chance of a save. Beautiful shot there. Combination on the 9 is not available. We need to look for a safety.
Extension.
The 2 things I spot are clipping the 3 and sending the cue ball up table. Maybe they'll see an edge of the 3, but at least it will be long and tough to come with an answer. Or hitting the 3 into the 7 and stunning the cue ball behind the 5. Now I wouldn't try to come behind the 6 with the cue ball because more difficult to control the 3. And having said that, what a great shot by reljic. Hit that 9 spot on. This is a very valuable safety shot here by the Australians. They need to stop the rod.
Yes, and reljic in particular needs something good to happen. I've been impressed by the poise of the Poles so far though. On this kind of international stage, miles away from home, you have to say relatively inexperienced, but you would never guess that fact from the way they've conducted themselves.
Good pre-shot routine by Wojtek.
Ball short. Ball in hand.
Well, the Poles, they are used to playing in front of an audience. They play a lot of league matches back home. They generate a big audience. They play live stream matches. They play on national television. Of course, playing a league match in Poznan or Torun or Warsaw is different from the World Cup of Pool here in Manila.
Well, it's interesting you should mention the Polish league, which is a real success story, because reljic, at the age of 16, won the MVP award in that, the most valuable player. What a howler.
The damage was done on the 4 ball. Cue ball should never have been close to that rail.
And what a turnaround. Remember, Australia were 5-1 ahead. reljic missed the 6 ball to the pocket where Skaversky's just spotted the 7. In this rack, it's been Ian Barber's turn to make a bad mistake. And the upshot of all of that is that Poland, after this, are now on level terms at 5-5. Plenty of comebacks in the first round of the partypoker.net World Cup of Pool, and I think we're seeing another one here. Nothing to choose between them. Michaela Tab there, the referee, one of the most famous faces in pool, merely for officiating. Known around the world, and she's particularly popular here in the Philippines. The amount of photographs she poses for and autographs she signs, incredible.
Beautiful break here by Karol Skowerski. In this format, with the 9-ball being wrecked on the spot, the players look to make a cut break, hitting between half and 3/4 ball on the 1. And then it's very difficult to add power and still keep the cue ball on the table. Two-7 combination, not something to go for. So what shots are on? I like this. Conventional, not too aggressive, but he can do it 100 times. Sign of experience there. Not every safety shot needs to be tight behind another ball. It's about finding the right balance between percentages, how often can you execute it, and the pressure that you need to put on an opponent in a certain phase of the match.
Well, the pressure here is to such an extent, or certainly the complexity of the shot. The Australians are taking their 35-second extension already early in the rack.
Oh, nice shot by reljic. So here they can hurt the Polish, who played what I complimented, containing safety. Wrong choice of shots. He's still on reljic. But Barber could have played back and forth, leaving the cue ball center table and a cut shot for reljic.
So has that length of the table bank on the 2-ball opened the door for Australia to regain the lead? Really, from here they should do so. Neither the 6, the 7 or the 9 look as though they're going to pose any problems.
Wants an angle.
And so just when you thought that Australia were losing the thread, reljic has the 9-ball to put them back out in front. The wide ball not down. Australia 6, Poland 5. Will the boys from down under win for the first time in the World Cup of Pool? It seems in any match in the partypoker.net World Cup of Pool, the closer you get to the winning line, the more tension there seems to be out there. And that's certainly the case in rack number 12 as Poland continue their battle against Australia. Safety exchanges on the 1 and the 2 ball. In the end though, the Poles got in and level the scores once more. It was 5-5, now it's 6-6.
Thank you, rack 13.
And what began as a
Poland
best
to break,
of
6
15 rack match is effectively reduced to the best of 3. The Poles, though, are the favourites because here in rack 13, it's Wojtek Szewczyk to break off.
Beautiful break, and look at the 2-ball. Look at the 2-ball, cue ball, close to the rail as well. Favorites here to pocket the 2, and they don't need a lot of work to get on the 3.
At stake, Alex, a meeting in the last 16 with Holland, who survived 8-7 against Croatia from 7-4 down. So if Poland come through, it could be the battle of the comeback men.
Wow. Takes a lot of trust in your partner as well, because he's leaving Szewczyk close to the rail. A lot of trust in his own stroke as well to slow roll the ball like that. Scary. Good shots. Slow rolling under pressure is always tough. The more pressure, the more adrenaline in your system. The more adrenaline in your system, the more rigid the muscles become. And rigid muscles don't like a slow contraction.
Well, the only time so far in the match Poland have been in front was when they enjoyed that fluked combination to win rack number 1. Now, though, it seems they're going to move into the ascendancy again. Although at this late stage of a match, any ball is missable.
He ended short, but luckily so short that Szewczyk has an angle he can work with. Good pre-shot routine again. He's well conditioned, the young lad. Oh, missed the side pocket knuckle by half an inch.
Trailing 5-1, things were looking bleak for Poland. Now prospects are rosy because they're 7-6 ahead and breaking in rack number 14.
Rack 14, Poland to break, leading by 7 racks to 6.
If momentum fuels victories, I think we can put this one in the books. Poland have the momentum and they have the break. And Skawerski will be happy with that.
Yeah, they're breaking the balls really well. I think as a pair, on average, the best of any team thus far. Power and control. Look at that. Difficult to tell whether the 8 ball passes the 9 to the corner pocket. Left or right. If it does, well, I cannot say it's an easy wreck because they're on the hill. It would be the wreck to go to the second round. The only key shot then, if that 8 passes the 9, would be to get from the 6 straight onto the 7. And this tells us that the 8 does not pass the 9 ball. This was an attempt to split. Now it's easy to leave an angle on the 6, a natural angle to open the 8-9. But then the cue ball would be traveling away from the 7. So there would be a big chance to have no shot or a hard shot on the 7.
"16 first-round matches in this partypoker.net World Cup pool. This is the 15th, and as it stands, only one seeded pairing is out of the tournament. Extraordinarily, Philippines A, Denis Akolo and Lee Van Corteza, beaten by Switzerland. Oh, after that manufactured shot, 8 and 9 now split apart, and you have to think the number 10 seeds, Poland, could be on the way to round number 2.
The shot is very tough. Just potting the ball, but also the knowledge that the cue ball will float away from the 8.
Wow!
Oh, what a cool guy Shevchik is. Knowledgeable to play it with more spin, not a fragile, slow roll. And then the yell. He's enjoying himself out there.
It seemed to stay on the lip of the pocket and just tantalise the Australians. And now their futility in the World Cup of Pool looks set to continue. They've never won a match in the tournament, and it looks as though they're going to have to wait at least 12 more months. Shevchik deposits the decisive 9 ball. Australia disappointed, Poland elated. Into the last 16, they weren't impressive early on, but they were when it mattered most.
Australia yet to win a match in the World Cup, but they pushed Poland all the way. For Poland, a second round clash with Holland is the next stop.